What's going on, guys? Francis here, back with another video. And today I'm going to be looking at some of the latest news for the Atlanta Hawks team as a whole. If you've watched the last couple of videos, you know that I'm heavily investing in Trae Young and I'm looking to invest in John Collins. So I want to learn more about the team and what's been going on as far as the trade deadlines and the head coach changes and all this stuff that's been happening the last couple months. They've been playing very well lately, and there's still a lot of games left in the season, but it looks like they will be at least making the play-in tournament. Hopefully they can make the playoffs without doing the play-in tournament. But they look really good lately. A lot of guys have been injured on that team throughout the season. They had a head coach change. They got rid of Rajon Rondo and they replaced Lou Williams. So there's a lot going on with the Hawks. So we're going to take a look at Trae Young's prices real quick. I did that in the last video already, so go check that out. It's a whole video dedicated to Trae Young, but we'll take a look at them real quick again, and then we'll jump into some news articles to look at the latest news for the Atlanta Hawks. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, the Hawks are currently right now in 6th place, 22-22, 500 average, 9.5 games out of first. And only a half a game ahead of the 7th and 8th place teams. So, if there's still a lot of games left to be played, they can easily drop down to that 8th, 9th, and 10th spot. At this point in the season, they're on a run right now, but the run could end and they can go back to that 9th and 10th spot and have to go into the play-in tournament. But as an investor, I'm hoping that they can continue to progress with the team that they have, continue on this hot streak, end strong, and go into the playoffs without doing the play-in tournament. All right, so let's take a look at Trae Young's prices right now. This is all of his prices in the last year. We see that his low point was around 130s to 160s, 170s maybe. Spent a little bit of time, a couple months it looks like, around 160s to 170s, maybe 180s. And then just shot up through the course of the season. When did this start? It started in July when he had this run into the 200s, and he continued up all the way into the height of 372. And it looks like he hung out in the 300s for a couple weeks, then came back down to 240, corrected itself, came back down to 240. Spent a couple weeks there. When did this start? So from September 3rd until November 8th, he was around the 240s, 260s, shot back up to the 300s, back up to that 380 mark, came back down to the 240s, shot back up to the 300s, came back down to the 240s again over here, and then now he's been kind of going down as the season has progressed, and he's all the way down to the low 200s and high 100s. He's not at his low point quite yet. His low point seems to be around 160. I don't know if it's going to drop that low again to get down to 130, 150, 160. I don't know if it's going to drop that low again. The Hawks are playing really well. It looks like his cards are kind of turning around right now. They're stuck in that 200 range. It doesn't really look like it's getting any lower than about around 200. A couple of them you can sneak in and get, which I have done. Like for me, I snuck in and got this one for $177. It came out to $197. That is very rare to do, but there are auctions. Just make sure you're looking at all the auctions that are available for the cards that for the players that you're looking to purchase, because like we see at the chart here, most of them are hanging around 200. Low 200s, but there's a couple of them that people just aren't paying attention to, and you can sneak in and get a nice little discount. So just pay attention to it. Have a goal in mind for the price that you want. In past videos, I said I don't want to spend more than like $200 for Trae Young. I think the best price to get in right now is anything under $200. Anything over that, I think is a little bit too much, because he can drop. The prices can drop over the next couple weeks, and you don't want to miss out you don't want to over purchase in that situation. But I believe in the long term, and even in the short term, before the playoffs are over, his cards will be back to this 240, 260 mark. I don't think it's out of the possibility for it to get back up to this 300 mark. It's been there a couple times already. It's shot up there for a couple weeks. And I think if they make the playoffs and he does well in that time period, then they can easily shoot back up again. And but more realistically, it looks like it can definitely get to more realistically around the 240 to 260 mark. That's where it seems to spend a lot of its time. So that's what I'm shooting for. So if I'm trying to flip it for 260, let's say $260, I don't want to spend more than my total purchase being like 215 maybe, at the most. So I'm trying to get it under $200 right now. So let's look at some of the news that's been going on with the Hawks lately. This is the article I read in the last video. I will put the link to all these articles in the description below. But this is what we read in the last one. It was a really good article on John Collins. Go check it out if you're looking to invest in John Collins. I think it's a great investment right now. If you can get it for probably at max $100, I would try to look for under $100 right now. That's what I would do. That's what I'm looking for is his Prism for under $100. But this is what we read in the last one. We're not going to read through all the articles as always, just some highlighted points so we can get an idea of what is going on with the Hawks and are they moving in the right direction as a team? And if so, does that mean it's a good time to invest in Trae Young and John Collins? Okay, so here we'll just read a little bit about John Collins and his impact with the Hawks. After all, Collins ranks second on the Hawks in points, rebounds, and blocks per game. With Collins on the court, the Hawks have nearly the same net rating as the East leading 76ers, and when he sits, they get outscored by almost as much as the scuffling Wizards. So when John Collins is on the court, they're as good as the best team in the East. When he's not on the court, they get outscored by they're as good as the Wizards, basically. So this acquisition right here, Hawks acquire Lou Williams in trade for Rajon Rondo. I think this helps the Hawks out a ton with their problems with their second unit, not scoring as many points when Trae Young and John Collins are not on the court. I think having Lou Williams on the court as such a great scorer will benefit them tremendously, in my opinion, because now they can. Rajon Rondo was a great floor general. He was a great, he was great at setting up the offense and running the offense correctly, but he wasn't a scorer. And, Bogdanovich and Gallinari, they're great, but you need someone a little bit more, in my opinion, a little bit more high level in the scoring department. And I think Lou Williams is a great pickup for them to run the second unit when Trae Young is not on the court and John Collins is not on the court. So they can pick up points and not get outscored, like the last article said, as much as the Wizards do. So let's read a little bit about this trade deal. Rondo is under contract through the 2021-22 season at $7.5 million annually, while Williams is on an expiring $8 million deal. That creates additional flexibility for Atlanta in 2021-22, that's next season. And in short, Williams is likely the superior player at this juncture. So on the plus side, they picked up, in my opinion, a better, and the opinion of this author, a better player to run their point guard for the second unit. He's on an expiring $8 million deal, while Rajon Rondo was on the same type of deal. He was on a $7.5 million deal. But the difference with Rondo is that his deal was all the way until next season. So they would have had to keep him until next season. Whereas Williams, they can just get him for this year, and then his contract seems to be expiring. And on top of the trade, they also get cash. They got cash money and 2 second-round picks for future drafts. So while Williams is in a smaller role for the Clippers this season, he is averaging 12 points per game and remains an effective shot creator. Rondo has appeared in 27 of Atlanta's 44 games this season, averaging 4 points and 3.5 assists in 15 minutes per contest. See, 4 points, that's why they're struggling so much when John Collins and Trae Young are not on the court. They don't have any great scorers besides Bogdanovich, really. So though he has enjoyed positive flashes, the Hawks have a negative 6.2 net rating when he is on the court in 402 minutes. And that is the worst single mark for any rotation player on the team. While part of that certainly can be attributed to Rondo playing the vast majority of his minutes without Young, the team's best player, Atlanta's creation issues when Young leaves the floor are still very much present. Yes, we just read that in the last article when they said they're just as good. They get outscored as much as the Wizards. So with Williams on board, the Hawks do have another ball handler and confident shot creator, and that will be an interesting addition while the Clippers are betting on the return of playoff Rondo as the postseason looms. So in my opinion, if you're an investor in Trae Young and John Collins, that means you're an investor in Atlanta Hawks, and I think them picking up Lou Williams is a huge benefit to them. Okay, this article is Nate McMillan, the new voice the Hawks needed. As you know, Lloyd Pierce was discharged like maybe 3 weeks ago or so, and they put in Nate McMillan. So if you don't know much about Nate McMillan, we'll go through this article real quick, and we'll discuss why he's been such a positive influence on the team and why they've been on an 8-game winning streak since him. They've lost their last 2 actually, but really close games. But yeah, so let's get an idea of what Nate McMillan is about. So the reason why Trae Young's cards were dropping so much is because he wasn't playing too well. They had a problem with their head coach, Lloyd Pierce, and there were so many injuries to the team that the team was not playing. They were under 500 team, and they weren't playing well. But if we read right here, we see why we see some of the players that were out. So, and now that are coming back, which means that this team, that's why this team is getting so much better. That's why they're winning more games, and I think that's why they will continue to win more games and go into the playoffs really strong, have a strong team chemistry, have great players in their second unit and first unit, and make a run. So some of this is surely a bounce, and some is due to improved health. Bogdanovich, among the team's many offseason imports, returned for the Hawks' first game post-injury. They haven't lost since. DeAndre Hunter, who hasn't played since January, is listed as questionable as opposed to out for Monday's game against the Clippers, which already happened. Cam Reddish remains out, having undergone knee surgery, and Chris Dunn has been cited in a Hawks uniform as often as Speedy Claxton. Okay, so let's look at DeAndre Hunter. Hunter is excited to return to Hawks lineup. So this is DeAndre Hunter, if you guys don't know much about him. He's one of the Hawks' best players, and he's been out for the majority of the season. So Hunter was listed as questionable on the team's injury report for the Clippers game, but eventually saw his first action in nearly 2 months and scored 8 points as the team had its 8th game winning streak snapped. They lost to the Clippers a couple days ago, like 6 days ago. Hunter said his pain began when he came down from a dunk in that win versus Washington. After playing the best basketball of his career, certainly the most consistent Hawks player at that point in the season, DeAndre Hunter was, Hunter had to put basketball on pause. He had become a player who could both find his own shot and defend well, 2 categories in which the Hawks needed a boost. In 18 games this season, he averaged 17 points, 5.4 rebounds, and in 32 minutes per game. He was one of their leading scorers that the Hawks have been without since for the last couple months, I believe, which is huge to have him back now. They have him back. They have Bogdanovich back. They have Nate McMillan as a head coach, and yeah, they're looking good. All right, who else did they name? Cam Reddish is out. Now with Cam Reddish, he undergone knee surgery. I think he was averaging like 11 points. He's a good player. I'm not sure if he's back yet, though. And Chris Dunn is a backup point guard, and he is, as it says here, Dunn's a decent scorer and playmaker, but what he's most known for is his defense. He will surely add a boost to the Hawks' second unit, a group that is beginning to look a lot more dangerous as the team continues to heal up. And since they added now Lou Williams to the second unit. And I believe Chris Dunn is coming back within the next couple weeks or within the next couple games. All right, some more on Nate McMillan, the new head coach. He's 56. He has logged over 1,200 games as an NBA head coach. His ferocity as a player was such that he was beloved in Seattle, where he was known as Mr. Sonic. He was part of a North Carolina State backcourt that included the legendary Spud Webb. He was recruited out of Enloe High, the alma mater of Georgia Tech's Moses Wright, by the legendary Jim Valvano, Jim V. So he was recruited at a high school by Jim Valvano. He has, in a word, credentials, which is very true. Okay, so that's all the latest news on the Hawks. We see that Trae Young's prices are kind of going down towards its lowest point around 160, but I don't believe that it may get there before the end of the season, but you never know. It can continue to go down, and if so, in the next couple weeks, maybe that will be a great time to pick up his cards if they continue to drop. But I can't see them dropping too much below 180. If you're looking to pick them up, it seems like the best place to sneak in at would be 180, 185, maybe 190. You saw in I purchased one for 170 here, 177, but it's very rare for that to happen. So if you're looking to pick up a lot of Trae Youngs, then it seems like around 200. I wouldn't pay more than $200 in my opinion. It just seems like a little bit riskier. His prices can continue to drop 10, 15, 20 bucks in the next couple weeks, and you don't want to be sitting around 215, 220 when his cards are now selling for 170, 165 or something like that. So just be patient. Watch the card market. Don't get overly, don't get FOMO, fear of missing out, and try and jump in on whatever his cards are going for, because you will end up overpaying. So we see, I actually paid $177 for that one, and here, look, I paid $203 March 8th. So about 2-3 weeks ago, I paid almost $30 more for this card. So and this was a decent price to get in at. But look, my total is $233, and I'm hoping that he can get, it looks like he averages around 260, his card prices, 250. So I really got to hope that his cards shoot up to 300 if I want to make a decent profit before the end of the year. So when I'm looking for cards now with Trae Young, I'm making sure I'm not going above 200. You're not going to pick up as many cards that way, but you can sneak in, keep your eyes on all the auctions that are happening. You have a price range in mind, 192, put in $192, and then eventually you'll sneak in and you'll actually win one of the auctions for a nice low price, like I won here with the 177. So yeah, his cards are at a low price. If you watched my last video with John Collins, his cards are at a low price, around $80, $85. So it's a good time to pick him up if you can get in under $100. They have a new head coach in Nate McMillan. They're 1-8 out of their last 10. They have DeAndre Hunter coming back, Cam Reddish coming back, Bogdan Bogdanovic is back. They got Lou Williams running their second unit to be a great scorer for their second unit. So this team is looking really, really good. I think it's a good team to invest in. I'm not telling anyone to invest in them, but this is a team that I'm going to be looking at, Trae Young and John Collins. I have a lot of faith in them. I have a lot of faith in the team to make it to the playoffs. Maybe get to the second round. It would be a win. And then hopefully flip it for around, high 200s is where I'm going for. Mid to high 200s would be beautiful. Would be a nice flip at the end of the season. If it can skyrocket up to that 300 mark again, that would be even better. But yeah, don't overpay. Be patient. We learned a little bit about what the Hawks have going on right now, some card prices. So just be patient with the auctions. Keep your eye out and try to sneak in for low prices. So that will be all for this video. Thank you for watching. Go check out my other videos on the Hawks and Trae Young and John Collins. And I will put links to all the articles that I had so you can read the whole articles for yourself. I'll put the link in the description. So thank you for watching. Adios.